Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this.
Relative to, it was obviously a very close game. Wake Forest big man got in foul trouble, but did Duke show you anything differently tonight in terms of finding a way to win when the three is not falling?
Not really. I mean, again, that's a game they should win even ugly. And it was ugly in the first half, but then they started to get going. And again, when you have Mark Mitchell, Filipowski, McCain, all three of them, and Mark Mitchell's huge for them because he just gives them that energy that, Jay Will was complaining at halftime how lethargic they looked, how bad on defense. And I looked up, I'm like, yeah, but they've only given up like 27 points at the half. I know their defense had been matadorish at times, but they'd only given up 27 points at half to Wake. And they got going on the offensive end. That was the bigger thing for me is, this team has a lot of weapons and you just don't find them clicking on all cylinders. And Filipowski, while he's had a very good year, he hasn't been nearly as dominant as a lot of people thought he'd be this season. Mark Mitchell's been huge. Obviously, Roach has given them exactly what they need. And Jared McCain's been clearly their best freshman and a guy that can go for 20 on any given night. Tonight, he went for 17. So if they can get Proctor going consistently, I still think this is a team that can make a run in March.
Yeah, Matt, where are you? Because they've now obviously won 3 in a row, 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7, actually. Where are you on this Duke team and sort of what they've been putting together the last few weeks?
Yeah, I thought this was a really weirdly officiated game, too. I thought there was a complete lack of consistency by the officials. You had TV Teddy on the game. We always know there's going to be some theatrics there. I mean, you had veteran officials, Lee Castle.
There'll be no criticizing of TV Teddy on this show. I went out with TV Teddy for dinner in Charleston a few weeks ago.
I love TV Teddy. I'm not criticizing.
You're not taking any shots at TV Teddy.
I'm not criticizing.
It was a poorly officiated game, though. Matt's exactly right.
It was not great. I thought it was just it lacked consistency. Let's just put it that way. Wake Forest shoots 13 free throws. Duke shoots 25. I just thought the officiating was a little bit all over the place. But to Jeff's point, if this team can get Proctor going, it changes the team. I mean, he goes 0 for 5, 0 for 4 from 3, doesn't score a field goal in 25 minutes of action. That's a different. He's a difference maker if they can get him going. Yes. I thought this was a game for Wake Forest where, hey man, if they can win this game, if Steve Forbes can win this game, it gets them in the field, it gets them in the tournament, no question about it. They've been on the bubble, and they had their chances. Yep. They were right there. I don't think the score is an 8-point game, but I don't think it was really, indicative of how close this game really was. But yeah, I mean, Duke took care of business on Big Monday, and they got to just find a way to get Proctor going.
I will say one thing, Jeff, that maybe did concern me a little bit is, I mean, Efton Reed came into this game with 4 fouls, like before the game even started. He had 4 fouls, so like he could not even play really because in all seriousness, he had 3. With like 9 minutes left in the first half. And when he was in, I don't know what the plus minus was, but it felt like when he was in, that was a completely different game. And you just wonder, like for Duke, if they are in a game where we saw it a little bit with Baycott, right? If the other team has a super talented big man, Duke is going to have a hard ass time.
Well, here's the problem. Again, they don't really have a 5. And they tried to get one in the portal, and they never really were able to secure somebody. So now it's Filipowski and Ryan Young at the 5. So there's just not that rim protection that you have. Right. But like you said, I mean, Efton Reed, I couldn't believe Forbes left him in the game. 2 fouls, I think literally in the first 8 minutes. He's back in the game like midway through the first half. And I know coaches are different, and Forbes, I'm sure, is like, hey, you know what? We're not hanging around without Efton Reed. We got to have him just to be in the game at halftime. McCall, were you shocked that Forbes went with him that early with 2 fouls?
Yeah, and then when he picked up his fourth, I mean, what was that? At like 18 minutes to go in the second half. I mean, it was early in the second half. You're almost like, hey, do you sit him until the 15-minute mark if things start to get out of control or out of your hands? Then maybe put him back in there. When he picked up his fourth, I was kind of sitting there going, man, I can't believe he's in the game right now, and he picked up his fourth. But I do think Forbes is probably sitting there saying, hey, look, this is a big game for us. And we got to find a way to win this game, and I'm not going to sit him. I'm going to play him. I mean, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 for 6 from the field in only 15 minutes. I agree with John. I think the outcome of this game could have been different had he not been in such foul trouble. And it goes back to my point of just a lack of consistency by the officials in this game.
Hey, what was your mentor Billy Donovan's rule on 2 fouls?
Oh, 2, they're out. I don't ever remember Billy playing in the first half with 2 fouls. I don't ever remember it. Like, I can't. I honestly, I don't.
Did you
remember
follow?
I was the same, unless again, if you're getting run out of the building and your best player's on the bench, putting him back in the game. I mean, it's like, all right, man. In the second half too. Like, I always had a rule, like, if a guy picks up a third early in the second, we're going to take him out. And if we could keep it within like a 4 to 6 point range, like if we could keep it within that range, I'm sitting him there until we get under 10 minutes. Like I'm sitting him there. And then now I'm going to put him back into the game. Like 4 to 6 points was always the range that I would try to keep things in. And if it got out of control, then you have to put him back in the game.
Real quick here, Matt, on Wake Forest. John Shire said after the game that he feels like that's an NCAA tournament team. I think they're in if it started today, but obviously they still have a little work to do. I don't know where you are on them, but I mean they also shot 6 of 26 from 3, which they're not going to do, for most games. They're a good shooting team. First 4 out right now at our field of 68 bracket. So obviously on the bubble, have work to do. But in terms of, the damage this team might be able to do if it gets there, Matt, like they have pieces with what Salas did tonight, with the way they can shoot the ball. Like I could see Wake Forest getting hot in March.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. And I think that they have a favorable schedule coming up. I mean, their next game, they're at Virginia, which will be difficult. Can their style of play, can their pace win out in that game? Then they've got Pitt at home and Duke at home. Okay, so they've got some games that can boost their resume in Virginia and Duke, and then they have at Notre Dame, at Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and Clemson. So you're looking at their schedule here, 2 difficult games and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very winnable games. And you look at their record right now and you're saying, okay, they get to 22, 23 wins. They're going to keep them out of the NCAA tournament. I don't see it. And getting healthy, having their entire team out there on the floor, Steve Forbes, phenomenal coach. This team will be a tough out in the NCAA tournament, a really tough out. And I just don't – I think with their schedule, they're going to get to 22, 23 wins. I think they're in.
Yeah,
if they everybody should Virginia or Duke, they got to win those games. They got to beat one of the 2 of them. In my opinion,
that's the key. That's the key, though. That these games now, you lose at Virginia Tech or at Notre Dame. These are bad losses right now. Everything other than Duke, Carolina, Virginia is now considered kind of a bad loss because none of these teams really have any shot at getting the NCAA tournament.
And if you're on the bubble and you lose to a bad team and it's a bad loss, you're out. I tell people this story all the time. My last year at UMass, we lost to Dayton in the A-10 tournament. It was my last game as a head coach. Dayton was on the bubble pretty much that entire year. This is DeRon Holmes' freshman year. They were good. Malachi Smith was good. Holmes was good. Like Anthony had them back. And they go on the road and they lose to LaSalle in Tom Gola Arena. That loss knocked them out. Like you cannot lose to to the bottom tier teams in your league right now. If you're on the bubble, you can't do it because it's going to knock you out.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.